Hi, welcome to our broadcast. We're going to spend the next 30 to 35 minutes talking about cloud collaboration and specifically why companies all over the world are using collaborative technologies to drive business impact, and more specifically, how they're using cloud as an enabler and an accelerator of collaboration. I'm Pat Romzik, and I'm the Vice President of Market Development for Cisco Systems in the area of collaboration. And I own our strategy from a go-to-market perspective around cloud. So I spend a lot of time in the cloud, so to speak. And I'm joined with another one of my cloud experts here, Joe McKendrick from Forbes Research. Joe has done extensive research. He's a senior contributor to some really compelling research that we're going to cover today around cloud collaboration and the business impact companies are seeing from it. Joe, welcome.
Thanks,
you want
Pat.
to say a couple things? Did I introduce you properly?
Well, that sounds good. I'm always in the cloud as well.
People say I'm partly cloudy most of the time.
No, you have a very sunny disposition.
Thanks, Joe. Let me spend a couple minutes talking about what we're going to cover here, just to give you an idea of what we hope to do here in the next few minutes. First of all, we want to talk about collaboration. What is collaboration? There's a whole bunch of different views of what that is and why people are using cloud as an enabler of collaboration. So just sort of level set and provide some context. And then really Joe's going to go deeper around this really compelling research that Forbes has done around the business benefits companies are seeing today, achieving today. And let me point this out, Joe, and I think you're going to reinforce this, that this is not theoretical. This is not a hypothetical, we think people are going to get a lot of benefit out of cloud. We've all seen those webcasts. This is what business impact customers are absolutely seeing today. Is that fair, Joe?
Absolutely right, Pat. Yeah, we interviewed 532 enterprises on what's happening on the ground today. What are they doing with cloud collaboration? And we have a lot of compelling results we're going to share today.
So please stay with us so you can hear that. And then you're going to also hear a little bit from me in terms of what our strategy is at Cisco. So given this compelling opportunity around cloud collaboration, what is Cisco doing about it anyway? And then more importantly, we'll talk about how do you get started in both from my point of view, but more importantly, what can be gleaned from the research that Joe and his team have done. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
All right, let's jump in. First of all, let's talk about collaboration. What is collaboration? Well, obviously, it's people working together. Duh, I think everybody understands that's probably what collaboration means. But more importantly, really what it is, and you'll hear more about this from Joe, is this notion of using capability, process, technology, and capabilities in an organization to get the people in that organization to work in a collaborative way to drive both productivity as well as cost benefit and strategic advantage for the company. What does that mean? Well, it means using technology like video and web and customer care applications and messaging in a really provocative way to drive business results, achieving a common goal for the organization. I think that's really the way we would define collaboration. Does that make sense, Joe?
Exactly. Collaboration has taken on a whole new meaning these days with technology and supporting technology. It's about people working together, and it's always been about people working together. Organizations are about people, but we have the electronic tools and methodologies now that really make it happen.
And the interesting thing is that when you talk about collaboration, there's this notion of cloud. So now overlay collaboration with cloud and say, well, why are people using cloud? What's the big deal about cloud? We're going to talk a bit more about this, but I talk to lots and lots of customers all over the world in my role around cloud collaboration at Cisco. And what I hear is a common set of themes. And I think this comes out in some of your research, Joe, and you'll talk about this in a minute. But really what companies are trying to do is they're trying to deliver a consistent set of experiences and capabilities all over the world. Even small companies today have multiple locations, oftentimes maybe in multiple countries, or at a minimum are collaborating with suppliers and customers all over the world. Well, what they're trying to do is to deliver capabilities to those employees and customers and partners in a way that allows them to work together in a really seamless way, leveraging technology as an enabler. The challenge that they have, I hear this all the time, is this notion that they're trapped in their infrastructure. They're trapped in a legacy set of capabilities that's disparate from one location to another. They've got brand X here and brand Y there. It's steeped in high capital expenses. They don't know how to upgrade it. It's too complex for them to upgrade and or integrate. and it's extremely costly for them to move forward. So they struggle with, what do I do? Along comes the cloud. What cloud does, increasingly companies, CIOs, CTOs, and CEOs are saying, gee, cloud now creates new capability for me to deliver this broad array of collaborative capabilities to everyone in my workforce, everywhere in the world, in real time. And oh, by the way, I can reduce expenses and move all my expenses from capital to operating expense. I can accelerate my business impact, and I can do it in real time, and then I only pay for what I use. And someone else is responsible to deliver it to every location. That's what's so big about cloud, is companies increasingly are seeing this as an enabler to accelerate collaboration, which accelerates business results. Is that consistent, Joe, with what you saw in your research?
Oh, absolutely. And as I mentioned, it's on the ground research. It's what's happening now, and we our companies are seeing tangible benefits from their use of cloud collaboration. Increased flexibility, increased agility, the ability to turn around on a dime, increased efficiency, internal efficiency, operational efficiency, helping employees to work together more effectively. I mean, and the bottom line is innovation. I mean, cloud is delivering innovation. Cloud collaboration is delivering innovation. It's accelerating innovation, and that's the key to competing in today's global economy.
It's providing companies with capabilities they didn't have before, and they can move more quickly in a more agile fashion, and at the same time deliver higher levels of capability to the organization. Makes a lot of sense to me. You know what I'd love to do, Joe, is have you spend a few minutes and go deeper. I think this is interesting, and I've seen lots of studies around cloud, lots of various research projects that talk about cloud and why people are going to adopt cloud. What's different, I think, here is this notion of how you subcategorize the respondents, and you got different insights in terms of what they're doing and why, and more importantly, real world on the ground, as you said, in clear, concise terms, what customers are doing, companies are doing, and why they're doing it, and more importantly, what business impact they're seeing from it. So why don't you take us through a bit of that, if you would, Joe?
Certainly. Well, at Forbes Insights, we conducted a survey of more than 500 respondents. These are top-level respondents. These are CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, CMOs, CFOs. Did I forget anybody?
I think you got all the CXOs.
I got all the CXOs. Okay, that's our audience, and that's who we talk to find out what's happening out there in the.
So this was not an IT survey. Right? We've seen a lot of IT surveys. This is really senior executives of companies.
Exactly.
Some all different sizes, all different sizes with different geographies, or was this primarily
various geographies? Larger companies, though.
Okay.
We surveyed larger organizations just to see what's going on, what their experiences are with cloud collaboration, and we saw a lot of interesting results. Companies are very positive about what cloud is delivering to them. We looked at various factors, various types of collaborative methodologies and technologies that are being adopted. That would include, as you mentioned, video, telephony, unified communications, social media, mobility, the trend toward bring your own device. All those factored into our research. And from that, we looked at the companies that are really adopting a wide array of these types of collaborative abilities. Mm-hmm. And we identified those as the leaders in our survey. We had 532 respondents. About 14% were really ahead of the curve in terms of adopting widespread adoption of these various.
So the leaders category is sort of these companies that are really leveraging technology and focused on these collaborative capabilities in their organization,
exactly
regardless
right.
of whether they acquired that capability from cloud or prem. It doesn't matter. It was really about what they're trying to achieve and the kinds of technologies they're adopting. Kind of put them in this leader category, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And we contrasted that against who we call laggards. Not to disparage them, but these are the companies that really haven't moved too deeply into these collaborative areas, collaborative technology.
So they're using more of a base set of capabilities, not this broad array of collaborative technologies.
Yes. They're probably, they're probably collaborating, maybe face to face in person, maybe by phone, making business trips or whatever, but maybe by snail mail even, who knows? But they're not really moving ahead with the cloud or collaborative technologies on the cloud. And we found a lot of interesting distinctions between what the leaders in our group are seeing and achieving versus what the laggards or even the general population of the survey are seeing. The leaders tell us that they're seeing much greater competitive advantage. I mean, this is a tangible result that they're seeing now, not that they wish to see. They're seeing much greater competitive advantage. They're seeing greater efficiencies within their organizations. They're operating more efficiently. They're able to operate more strategically. And they provided us some steps to success, the progression they're taking. I'll talk about that in a moment as well.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great insight. So maybe take us through it a little bit further. So this notion of leaders and laggards. So leaders are using more technology and recognize more business impact from that capability. The laggards using not as much. Why don't you take us through that and give us a little more insight in terms of what specifically they saw as the business impact and benefits?
Exactly. We ask our respondents, what are you seeing? What kind of results are you seeing as a result of collaborative technologies? The key one is innovation. Is your use of collaborative technology stimulating innovation across the organization? A majority of our respondents, the entire group, said yes, they are seeing increased innovation as a result of these technologies. 59%. The leaders in our group almost unanimously agree that the use of collaborative cloud is increasing their innovation capabilities. 93% are saying, yes, we are seeing enhanced innovation. Versus the laggards, 23%. So there's a 4 times difference between what the laggards, the companies that aren't so far along, versus companies that really get it, are achieving what they're seeing. Another benefit, I mentioned the internal efficiencies, the streamlining or the more efficient business processes that are happening inside their organizations. That's also a large swath of our leaders, 90% saying that they are seeing greater internal efficiencies. This could be anything from the ability to collaborate, and perhaps because projects and are more visible to employees or members of teams, they're able to provide input and insights and really keep things on track.
So the more they use, the more efficient they think they're becoming.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Exactly. It's really helping in that area. In terms of time to market, accelerating, a big part of innovation is being able to get your product or service, your new idea, productized and out there in the marketplace. And those companies that are well ahead with their collaborative technologies, 8 out of 10 say, yes, we're really increasing, accelerating our time to market.
So it's creating competitive advantage for them. It's allowing them to accelerate their business impact as well as make their employees more efficient.
Exactly. And you mentioned competitive advantage. We asked that outright. Are you seeing more competitive advantage as a result of this technology? And 8 out of 10 of our leaders, again, say, yes, this is definitely helping our bottom line. This is helping us achieve leadership in our marketplaces.
So this notion is really about collaboration delivers value. When delivered from the cloud, delivers even more value, essentially. And what's interesting about this too, Joe, is we focus on the leaders, and research I thought was really provocative, and I encourage everybody to read this in detail and really sort of think it through, because I thought it was extremely provocative, not only in terms of what the leaders said, but even the laggards. Because if you think about what Joe said, the leaders are using the technology, so they're seeing impact. So that's really good news. They're seeing impact of leveraging cloud to drive collaboration of their workforce. Fantastic. But I think what's also interesting is that, depends on the question, but from somewhere between a third, or in some cases maybe a little more than that, almost a half in some cases, of the laggards saw business benefits associated with cloud. So, while we focus on the leaders, they're doing it and seeing benefit, but the laggards, the people aren't doing it, are also recognizing there's probably some real business impact here and cost savings associated with cloud, right?
Absolutely, Pat. And just because your enterprise maybe is lagging in this area, it doesn't mean there aren't people within the enterprise. Maybe super users or evangelists or people that are a bit more inspired and are moving ahead on their own. With pilot projects. Maybe they're implementing something within their business unit or department. So you have these islands of
Islands of
creativity.
innovation.
Islands of innovation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Clouds throughout the organization, perhaps innovating, right?
Exactly.
It's interesting too, and maybe talk a little bit more about that because that was really provocative. This is not an IT project, right? People think of cloud and they think immediately of IT. Well, they're going to build a cloud platform. They're going to move all their stuff to the cloud, and it's sort of the IT platform. But the reality of it is, it came out of your research, and I thought this was provocative as well, is this is more than IT. This is something that lots of folks in the organization are really engaged in and bought into as part of more of a broad-based business strategy, right?
Exactly right, Pat. In fact, one of the I'll call it a misconception that is seen across the market is that cloud computing is an IT thing, and in a lot of cases, the IT department are the people that initiate a cloud initiative. They want to optimize a process, or they're bringing in development tools off the cloud and all that good stuff. So often IT is behind it, but when you're seeing a competitive advantage, when you're seeing a strategic advantage from the cloud, it's more than what IT is doing. IT may be enabling or helping, but it's something that's coming from across the enterprise. You're seeing
line of business
folks. Not only the C-level folks that we interviewed, but folks in the sales, marketing, operations, customer service, the financial side of the house. They're all initiating. They're all moving forward with this process as well, or getting involved with this process, using cloud tools and cloud methodologies to be more productive and to
they see an opportunity to accelerate business impact. It's interesting too is this notion that in your research, I think even the CEOs in companies, and these are small, medium, large companies, even really senior executives involved in what many people thought was sort of an IT decision. It's not an IT decision. It's really a strategic shift for the organization to move some of these capabilities in the cloud and try to accelerate business impact, right? Is that the reason the CEOs are involved in these decisions?
Exactly right. There's first of all, there's a recognition from the top that cloud is a shift, a major business shift, a global business shift, and it's time to get on board. And plus, cloud is so there's such a low barrier to entry, I guess you could call it, to be able to get moving with cloud.
It's easy to deploy.
It's easy to deploy.
Easy to buy, easy to deploy.
Yeah,
that's right.
You don't have to put in a project request with your IT department to get it moving. You can initiate it right
out of your own operating budget.
Exactly.
Right, in some cases. Yeah, it's a terrific point, and really interesting in terms of sort of what's happening here. So what are the conclusions you sort of draw? You mentioned sort of this notion of sort of a 3-step process. So what's the process they're going through, Joe, to understand how they're really driving this in their organizations?
Okay, well, in our research, we looked at, we kind of parsed the data. We looked at what the leaders are doing in terms of the steps they're taking to move to a very collaborative, a cloud-based collaborative environment, versus everyone else. And they kind of what we got out of it was kind of instructional. First of all, it's interesting. The laggards who are attempting to move into this space typically try to do everything at once. They try to engage employees here and get something out to the customers here and so forth. But the leaders actually have a very deliberate step-by-step process. They start internally.
More prescriptive in the sense they know what they're trying to achieve.
Exactly. Exactly. And they'll roll out this kind of capability first to employees on the inside to enable better collaboration between employee groups and to increase the productivity of their employees, increase the work satisfaction, job satisfaction.
So they're focused internally first.
Exactly. Exactly. And once they have that underway and their processes are streamlined and things are operating well, that kind of moves out to the customer level. Either, you may have a customer service center that increases processes and efficiency by enabling a collaboration, and therefore you're delivering better service to the customer, or they're reaching out to the customer. Innovation, when we talk about innovation these days, it's very much a process of engaging your customers back and forth. You want a constant feedback loop with your customers in terms of improving your product or service. And collaboration, cloud-based collaboration enables your customers to get on board and communicate directly with you and work directly with the members of the organization.
Whether it's through video or customer care applications or web, right? I mean, these are all collaborative technologies that allow you to interact with your customers. So they're starting with employees, then they're expanding out into their customer base, right? And then talk about a little bit about what they're trying to do with their partner community.
Okay, and that's the third step of our process. What we see the leaders doing is moving this capability out to their supply chain, out to their partners, vendors, associates, to kind of improve the process of interacting and working with their partners, their vendors on a global basis.
Supply chain. So they're really
Supply chain.
leveraging this to drive efficiency in their supply chain and collaborate with their partners. And the
Exactly.
point you made earlier too, Joe, is a good one, which is even if a company is a single site, the reality of it is they're collaborating with customers and suppliers everywhere, right? Which is this notion that cloud really becomes enabler for them to create capability on a grand scale in ways they couldn't have before, essentially.
Exactly. And do you have companies that you work with that you can share some stories with us?
Yeah, certainly. We have a cloud collaboration platform at Cisco, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I think exactly what Joe talked about relative to the business impact that customers are seeing. There's a couple of examples I could talk through. You think about some household names, some pretty prominent brands. A company like Scott's, Miracle-Gro. They needed to be able to have flexibility. You talked about flexibility and agility. They need to be able to flex their organization up or down based on seasonal requirements, but at the same time, they wanted to be able to deliver a broad array of capabilities across their entire workforce, so people could collaborate and work together in a more seamless way to drive efficiency. They were able to do that leveraging cloud collaboration from Cisco and one of our great partners. 3M, household name, one of the stalwarts in terms of manufacturing, worldwide. Very, very well-known company. Adopted cloud collaboration as a way to weave their workforce together and drive productivity worldwide in 25 different countries in 75 sites in ways they could never have done it before. And they were able to deploy this in sort of real time. So this notion of a broad array of capabilities delivered everywhere in the world with a common kind of user experience in a ubiquitous way, and be able to do so rapidly, this notion of flexibility, agility, and business impact, great examples. We see lots and lots of companies that are focused on costs, right? Cost is one of the benefits of cloud, and many studies talk about cost benefits of cloud and how much cheaper it is to deploy a cloud-based solution. And certainly you can move your cost structure from CapEx to OpEx, but we're seeing real cost savings. Here's a couple of examples. A charter school that was able to reduce their total cost in a school significantly. And these are schools that don't have huge IT budgets, but yet they were able to deliver a broader set of capabilities, leveraging cloud as an enabler through one of our partners and reduce costs. D&M is, you may be familiar with Boston Acoustics. They make great acoustics equipment. They were trying to drive collaboration of their workforce and improve their productivity and their ability of their teams to innovate, the point about innovation. But a side benefit, not an individual benefit, but a side benefit was the fact they were able to reduce their cost in their headquarters by 3/4 and almost half in every one of their branches, and get people to work together more effectively. And there's lots of examples of rapid deployment. City of Charlotte needed to ramp up capability for the Democratic National Convention that was in Charlotte recently. Well, how do you do that in a traditional delivery model? Pretty hard. But in this case, they were able to leverage cloud collaboration from one of our great partners, put a really positive face on the city of Charlotte when they had lots of visitors for the convention, deliver a broad range of capabilities to those visitors so they could collaborate and communicate, but do so in a way they could deploy it rapidly and break it down rapidly. We had a customer recently. I was recently in Eastern Europe, and I heard the story about a large bank in Poland, of all places, that was looking to build a new facility in a new location, and they literally needed to have this up and running in 60 days. There's no way they could have ever deployed it that way. So they worked, again, with one of our partners. They were able to bring these capabilities online very, very quickly. So this notion of flexibility comes back down to the same thing, right? Reducing complexity, reducing costs, and at the same time improving business agility and rapid deployment. That's what I hear all the time from customers.
60 days to put up a new facility. That's amazing.
Yeah, those are the things. There's lots and lots of good case studies here in terms of what customers are doing. But it might make sense, Joe, for me to spend a couple minutes. So you provide a bit of insight in terms of the research. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about our strategy because I get this question all the time. So that's great. People are moving to the cloud. Understand people want to buy cloud and what they want to do. What's Cisco's strategy and how are you delivering that capability today? This one slide probably is the best depiction of our strategy. And Joe talked about this issue about mobility. Companies want to empower their workers wherever they are. They want to have the same experience and be able to do the same things, whether they're in an office in New York like we are, or they're on a train in Vienna, or they're in a mobile platform working from home in Singapore. They want to be able to do the same things. And they don't want to be locked into a single device strategy. They don't want to be locked into, well, I got to buy a certain kind of device. I only can do this on my laptop, or I only can do it from my desktop, or I only can do it from an Apple iPad. I want to be able to do it wherever and however people work. We had a recent example, for example, a very well-known airport was trying to deploy a set of broad capabilities for all the people working the airport, and they had a variety of devices. Well, they couldn't do it any other way. They wanted a single way to weave all these people together on all these various devices. That's what we're trying to do. So this notion of any to any, whether you're on iOS or Windows Mobile, or you're using a laptop or using a desktop or using an Android device, whatever it might be, being able to access this broad array of applications, not just voice, but the notion of being able to use voice and messaging and video and web and whether it's pervasive video for everybody in an organization or immersive video for high-end kind of boardroom capabilities, being able to do that in a seamless way, all fully integrated around a set of core capabilities with sort of this core manager that manages all of it so it works seamlessly together, and deliver it anywhere in the world with a common user experience. So our strategy is to deliver any content, anywhere, on any device, anytime, with the exact same user experience, whether it's delivered on-premise in a traditional delivery model or cloud-based in a cloud collaboration model. That's what's unique and different about Cisco. And as you might know, a lot of people recognize Cisco as the market leader in unified communications in a traditional model. We built a heck of a business. In fact, we recently got market share research from Synergy that said that we were by and far and away the market leader. We have 60% market share, 59.5% to be precise, in the enterprise worldwide. So we're far and away the market leader. We're growing when a lot of our competitors are declining. And people say to me all the time, well, that's that premise-based stuff, right? What are you doing in the cloud? It's exactly the same. Cisco has a set of applications that we uniquely can deliver on-prem in a traditional delivery model, in a full cloud delivery model, or a hybrid of the two. We didn't write a new line of code to deliver a hosted collaboration solution. We simply enabled our capabilities to deliver hybrid cloud or on-premise. That's unique. So you can run a headquarters with a private cloud or an on-premise deployment, deliver the new branch in Singapore or in Warsaw out of the cloud and have the two work seamlessly together. That's what we're trying to do as a company. And it really seems to resonate with customers as I talk to them. And it's this notion of a private cloud for those, companies, financial service firms, insurance firms, public sector firms that are really looking for lockdown, hardened, I need to have all the data in my data center model. We've got an architecture that will support a private cloud deployment for a large company or a company that requires that level of caged infrastructure, or public cloud. We've got 150 partners worldwide now delivering these kinds of capabilities to our customers. We'll talk in a minute about some of our great partners that are delivering this capability worldwide. But this notion of being able to deliver it out of a public cloud, leveraging our capabilities from our hosted collaboration solution, or a combination of the two, is really, we think, unique to Cisco, and something that really is driving what we think is broad capabilities for our customers. The other thing that's important to point out about our strategy, Joe, is that we're delivering this through partners. This is not a Cisco, we're going to be the be-all, end-all for everybody everywhere in the world. We believe that a partner strategy is the right strategy for us. So we're hugely invested in delivering this capability through partners. Some of the best-known companies in the world, in fact, 7 of the top service providers in the world lead with this solution as a way to deliver collaboration out of the cloud for their customers. So we've got some great partners. And when in partnership with these companies, what we've done is created this notion of Cisco powered. When you see this little blue oval with Cisco powered on it from one of our great partners, you know that inside of that solution is a core architectural underpinning driven by Cisco, innovation by Cisco, delivered through partners. They add value to that solution with other capabilities. They also delivered at scale worldwide. We've got partners that are delivering this capability literally all over the planet. They've got nodes all over the world delivering this capability today in countries, everywhere. It's driven by this certification process. So we require them to meet a certain rigorous set of capabilities, both architecturally and from a service delivery point of view, so that when you see this Cisco-powered logo, it means something. It means there's a level of quality, reliability, and scalability that you're only going to get with a Cisco-powered offer. Every cloud is not created equal. Lots of different kinds of clouds. And, any company can spin up a cloud and stick a server in a data center and call it a cloud solution. What we do with Cisco-powered is ensure that means something. Customers are concerned about risk, and they're concerned about service delivery. And so by having this designation, what we've been able to do with our partners is reduce the level of risk and complexity associated with deploying these kinds of technologies. So it's something we're really proud of, as you can probably tell. Still, innovation by Cisco delivered the best of both worlds. So what we may want to do, Joe, that's a little bit about what we're doing at Cisco and what we're experiencing. Maybe we want to spend a couple minutes here and talk about sort of why cloud, why now? So based on your research, based on what we're seeing in the marketplace, why should companies be looking at cloud as an enabler, and what should they be doing?
Well, Pat, you mentioned earlier the various platforms, the end user devices that you support, and I think that's a big part of it. Enterprises no longer have control over what kind of access employees have, or what kind of device they're using to access.
It's a world of BYOD, right?
BYOD,
Bring your own device.
yeah. You have the
world
Apple.
Of many clouds and a world of BYOD.
Yeah. And, you have the Apple devices, you have Android, you have Windows phones, you have PCs, the regular good old PC or the laptop, and, you have even have embedded devices within an organization. I mean, there's all kinds of different end user devices. The only way to get everybody on board, everybody together, and enable everybody to collaborate is to have some kind of cloud infrastructure or a cloud solution in which everybody. It doesn't matter what kind of device you have, everybody can use it. And executives, employees, executives, you name it, everybody is on the road. Everybody's working remotely. Everybody's using the different type of device to access. Executives are, you mentioned, executives on the road and being able to use their iPhone or smartphone to get data or to work with folks in other parts of the world. The way organizations are structured these days, you have, if you're a large organization, you want to break down the barriers. You don't want to have a lot of silos. If you want to be able to collaborate, get people in their different business units to be able to work together more effectively, cloud is the great solution for that. Small organizations, I'm aware of some organizations that really have a flat management structure, very little of a hierarchy, and they're based on teams and teamwork, and it's a great solution in that case as well. It's all about innovation. Ultimately, what we want to deliver, what we're talking about delivering through a cloud platform is greater innovation, and that innovation comes from people being able to interact with people, no matter where they are around the world. I'm very familiar with the software industry. I've worked within the software industry. I know a critical factor is being able to deliver turnaround solutions, turnaround new packages very quickly, and you have a global workforce of developers that can do that, working in different time zones, across time zones. There's a great case right there for greater collaboration and then bringing it all together. It's a highly competitive economy. It's a global economy. It's hyper competitive.
Yeah.
You need to stay on top of your game. You need to be able to tap the resources of your people, and that's where your competitive advantage ultimately comes from, is your people and your ability to help your people generate ideas and act on their ideas. And
this is a platform, as you've pointed out. I think it's really, really interesting and compelling that is an enabler for people to work more effectively with each other and drive business impact for the company. And I think going back to what we said, Joe, it's exactly as you said, right? This collaboration is this notion of people working better together. But what we're clearly seeing, and I think it was very evident here, is that leading companies are doing this today. This is not hypothetical. This is not some sort of theory. It's real. And the more technology companies use to drive collaboration of the workforce, the more business impact they're seeing, and the more they want to use the technology. It's sort of the gift that keeps on giving in a way. They invest in technology, they see more business impact, which makes them want to, in some ways, invest more. And leading companies are doing this today. They're leading the way. And so it's a really provocative trend. I don't think we're ever going to go back, right? It's a sort of a world of many clouds. You're never going to be able to put a cloud back in a box, I don't think. And the reality of it is that, I think what we conclude for our audience here is, if you're not looking at collaboration as an enabler of your business processes and productivity of your workforce and reducing costs and all the other things that we've talked about here, you really ought to be, because leading companies are doing that today. And if you're thinking about collaboration as a strategy, you should be doing that. You ought to be looking at cloud as an enabler, because it not only accelerates the business impact from collaboration, but it's an enabler for collaboration in ways you could never do before, as you pointed out, Joe. Whether you're on a train in Vienna, or working from home in Singapore, or working from New York City in an office like we're in today. So it's really profound and provocative, and something that I think lots of companies are going to see tremendous business value from. So, Joe, I want to thank you. This was great. I appreciate your collaboration here and insights, which I think are really revealing and hopefully useful for lots of you. Let me just also share that if you're interested in more information, there's tons of material available. So you've heard a lot about cloud collaboration. You've heard a lot about the value of collaboration, the value of cloud. For more information, certainly feel free to go to our website. As you would expect, Cisco indeed does have a website with lots of collateral around cloud collaboration. So feel free to go here to get more information. I'd like to transition slightly now and include one of our great partners around cloud collaboration, HCS, Tom Jolly. Tom is the Vice President of Marketing at Allstream. Allstream was our first strategic HCS partner in Canada, which we see as a very interesting and attractive market. So, Tom, let me welcome you. And if you would, Tom, would you maybe just take a second and introduce yourself?
Certainly. Thanks, Pat. Thanks for inviting us today. Really excited to get an opportunity to talk about our cloud program, and specifically our HCS efforts. Allstream is a fairly large service provider in the Canadian market. And as you mentioned, Pat, we were the first to bring HCS into the Canadian market. It's a real exciting time for us. We see this as a fairly significant growth opportunity for our business. And at the same time, it's actually bringing a whole lot of value into our customers. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity to spend some time talking about that today.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're hoping to get from you, Tom. I mean, you're talking to lots of customers. You've had some really early great successes in Canada, which, again, we think is going to be a huge market for cloud. Can you tell us a little bit more, Tom, in terms of who is adopting collaboration and who is adopting collaboration from the cloud? And what are you hearing from your customers in terms of kind of what are their critical business drivers and what kind of impact are they seeing?
Well, I think collaboration in itself is actually starting to really pick up adoption in the market. We've been in the unified communications business for quite some time. This next step that we're taking here with Cisco in putting HCS into the market really provides more than anything a different consumption model for customers. I think the market largely now recognizes the operating efficiencies that come from adopting collaboration, the ability to communicate more effectively internally and externally with trade partners, and essentially become a real-time communications organization. So, that adoption's kind of there. What we've predominantly seen with HCS and the conversations we're having with customers is around that different consumption model. And I think probably 80% of the conversations center around the ability to avoid capital investment. Second to that, so you're moving kind of from a capital spend into an operating environment, that kind of pay-per-use type approach. But at the same time, there is a fairly significant operating cost savings that we're seeing from customers as well. And it ranges, certainly, kind of 10 to 40%. And where that comes from, Pat, is offloading, if you will, the staff required to update, continue to do software upgrades, and manage the infrastructure that you may have invested in. So, I think, a kind of a more direct answer to who's buying this from us. I think of there's a fairly large global engineering company that jumps to mind. They're based here in Canada. Their initial conversations with us started around exactly that. They had a legacy contact center infrastructure in place. Their staff over the years had kind of attrited away or started doing other things. They lost their skill sets. And then faced with a fairly large investment to kind of to get back to a contemporary operating environment, we started talking to them about other options, about an operating model, unified communications as a service in HCS, how we could adapt contact center requirements to that. That got them real excited, and they actually moved very quickly. So they are in the midst, actually, as we speak, of deploying contact center and a little bit more broadly unified communication services over HCS out to initially the Canadian base, hopefully worldwide after that.
Excellent. So what you're seeing then in terms of business focus from a lot of customers, it sort of starts with this whole issue around cost optimization, either reducing costs or consolidating costs or moving it from CapEx to OpEx. Are you also seeing, what are you seeing, what are the customers realizing as they deploy this in terms of realized benefits, both on the savings side as well as what are they seeing in terms of productivity or efficiencies? Are you hearing that feedback from customers as well?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think what there can be a little bit of a misconception out there in the marketplace that if I buy cloud, I'm relatively restricted to what the service provider has decided is of value to me in terms of feature function. One of the reasons why we actually picked and partnered with Cisco on this cloud offer is that gets kind of blown up. The architecture for HCS allows us to basically provide a virtual instance for each customer. And what that means is that, let's say, for example, they have a CRM application or other that communications integration becomes important with, we can accomplish that for them in the cloud. So all of the productivity enhancements, all of the business benefit that we have been speaking about for the last number of years in collaboration itself holds true in the Cisco model as you move to the cloud, which is really exciting, and it's somewhat unique.
Yeah, no question about it. We often say, Tom, it's the sort of best of both worlds, right? It's sort of all the uniqueness of almost a dedicated, environment, albeit virtual, with all the economics of cloud, and it's really the way you described it. So based on what you're hearing from customers and the excitement as you described it in the marketplace and interest, what is your focus? So where are you intending to go with this? What do you see as the opportunity for you all in Canada in our partnership?
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. We kind of launched the end of June. Our activity level on this thing is exactly where we had hoped it to be. So we're excited about that. Our business case, thankfully, is holding water and then some. So that's exciting. I think next step for us, I mean, we are a service provider. So one of the core businesses that we're in is providing underlying voice and data services to customers. The wonderful thing about HCS is it marries all of our key assets together. So we are not just providing access to a data center where HCS resides. We are embedding HCS into the core of our network. And what that means is that SIP, ingress and egress to the PSTN, and that QoS-enabled connection to the data center is included in that per-seat price for the service. It's all from one single service provider. It is a monthly fee per subscriber. You can scale up and down. You can pick and choose the applications that you like. So our focus will be to continue to kind of propagate that out into the market and look for more opportunity to combine our core services. And we're hoping to see other applications and features expansion of HCS, probably more in a little tighter WebEx integration and certainly a much richer video experience that we can provide in an HCS environment than outside of it. It certainly speaks very loudly when you look at our plans for the next 3 or 4 years. Collaboration is the driving force of network adoption, and that's very important to us.
Well, Tom, thank you. Great insight, and I can see why you've had so much early success. And I can also see why you've built so much momentum and excitement in Canada. We're thrilled to have you as a partner. Clearly, we have a tremendous amount of opportunity together in Canada, which I think we both recognize is going to be a huge market for this major market transition to cloud.
Thanks, Pat. Really appreciate the opportunity and really looking forward to continuing to work closely with Cisco and bringing an incredible amount of value to the Canadian market.
And I'd like to thank our audience. I know you've listened to this. We've talked quite a bit today about cloud collaboration, why cloud. You've heard a great example from Tom in terms of some of the great successes we're seeing here in Canada. So we hope you found this useful. We wish you well. And for more information, certainly refer to either of our websites. You'll see a lot more information about cloud collaboration, and you'll hear a lot more about us and the market success we're having. Thank you, and best wishes.